wins, the tough losses, and the game-changing plays. This is the show that has it all covered. Sunday Kickoff. Brought to you in part by Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka. Now, here are Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle.
Welcome into Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff, Week 16 edition, December 21st, 2025. Alex Barth, Cerrone Battle, Ryan Garvin behind the glass, getting you started for a busy day in the NFL. A lot to look ahead to for Patriots fans. Team not playing till tonight. Again, their game against the Ravens flexed. 8:20 in case you missed it. And a big game for the New England Patriots as the playoff picture continues to clarify. They could actually punch their ticket tonight, among other things, as they look to bounce back as we get started here. Cerrone, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, Alex. Man, what's going on? Look, it's going to be a big night tonight. It's going to be a big day for the NFL, and it's good to have competitive Patriots football in December, something we haven't had in a long time. And look, it feels like every game, every week from this point on is like a playoff environment. So this should be pretty cool, and hopefully they get it done tonight. And you kind of can, I wouldn't say relax a little bit, but it'd be cool to go ahead and clinch everything they need to clinch tonight, and that way we can move on to the next phase of this 2025 Patriots team.
So just to reset here, the Patriots can clinch a playoff spot tonight. They actually, even if they lose, could still clinch a playoff spot. They would either need the Texans to lose to the Raiders, that's not happening, or the Colts to lose to the Niners. That could very well happen, but that game is actually tomorrow night. That's the Monday night game. Actually looking forward to that. That could be a fun game. But the Patriots could by tomorrow night clinch, but you don't want to be that team that backs into the playoffs and has that job done for you. And that's kind of where I want to start. I want to start, I know people are probably sick of the blown 21-point lead and going back to last week, but I think part of the story of this game tonight is about last week. And I think you kind of hit it on the head there, Cerrone. You mentioned it. Every game from here on out is going to feel like a playoff game. The players have talked about it, and they talked about that game being a playoff environment, but by losing that game, what they've set up here is... So they could have clinched the division with a win. They can't clinch the division this week no matter what. It can be easier to clinch the division if they win and the Bills lose to the Browns. Again, probably not happening, but they cannot clinch the division today. If they'd won last week, this would still be a big game. The 1 seed would be on the line, but it would be different. You need to win this game to clinch the playoffs, and then I believe they have to win those last two. Yeah. Depending on what happens with the Bills and Eagles next week, like odds are they're going to have to win those last two to get in. So you've now created these situations where you have to win out. The other thing about where they're at is there were some questions. I think we got them on the show. Cerrone, if you have a question for us this morning, 617-779-0985. Why is this team different than 2021? Team had a young quarterback. They just rebuilt in free agency. They go on this run against kind of an easy schedule. And then what happened to that team? They came out of the bye flat. They lost most of their games out of the bye. And then they go to Buffalo in the playoffs and get steamrolled. Now, I don't think this is quite that. Drake May's more talented than Mac Jones, first and foremost.
Yeah.
That team had a run of injuries at the end. Now, you might say, well, look at what's going on with the Patriots. They're dealing with a lot of injuries. I'm kind of expecting them to get some of these guys back. Milton Williams in the locker room this week without a boot. He's eligible to return next week. Will Campbell can be back in 2 weeks. I don't know if you saw the video of him at the Celtics game, Cerrone.
Yeah, he looked a little fired up.
Yeah, he was moving around okay. So these aren't like the way they've been talked about. I don't know, but like the way they've been talked about and discussed in the reporting is they're not necessarily season ending. Go back and look at who the Patriots went into that Bills playoff game with on defense, because they had the injuries. They had a ton of COVID issues too. That was back in the COVID day, right? So I do think it's a little different. That being said, again, that team really limped and backed into the playoffs. Yeah, and it was not. There's something to be said for momentum this time of year. How much do we used to hear this with Bill Belichick? You want to be playing your best football late in the season. Well, you have the Ravens tonight. This is a real big boy matchup. The Ravens are a potential playoff team. Baltimore, and we'll get into this a little later in the show, is the best primetime team in the NFL since 2008. So, big chance tonight. If you lose this, then you beat a lowly Jets and lowly Dolphins team. aren't you kind of doing that thing again? And that doesn't mean it's going to end the same way, but you're kind of doing that thing again. So I think this is a big chance for this team to just pick up a quality win at the end of the season. And as long as they can then take care of business the next 2 weeks, you're feeling good about where you're at going into the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, I get what people's concerns about that team, that 21 team. Think about it. By the end of that season, Mac Jones made the Pro Bowl, and we all was like, what are they doing? Like, Patriots fans didn't even want him in the Pro Bowl, didn't think he belonged. The difference is the quarterback, obviously. This quarterback you have this go-around is an MVP candidate, like near the top. It's him and Stafford, and I don't think anybody else at this point. And he could light this team up today and move up to that top spot. But the quarterback position is the key difference between that team and this team. That team, what were they, 10-6 or something like that, or 9-7? I can't remember what it was.
Did they finish 11-6?
Did they get that? I thought it was just 10.
10-7.
There you go. They were 10-17. This team now only has 3 losses. They're a lot better than that team was then, and we were happy that team made the playoffs. This team, I think, would be disappointed if they made the playoffs and lost in the first round like that. I mean, the expectations are different because this team is different. This team is one of the top offensive and defensive teams. Like you said, the injuries, yeah, they have some, but these guys are coming back. Milton Williams will be back by the time you get to the playoffs, whereas those guys got hurt going into the playoffs. They didn't have anybody left. And again, the quarterback is the key difference here. And look, I don't want to compare this team to disasters because they lost one game since September to a division opponent, a good division opponent at that, with an MVP quarterback. I mean, it happens. You had a big lead, whatever. You lost that game in the end. You had your chances, and they just made one more play than you did. That was simple as that. But I think this team is in far better shape than that 21 team. I think they'll be a real tough out in the playoffs. I just, despite of the schedule or whatever you want to call it, look, them and the Bills have played basically the same schedule, so I don't want to hear that no more. But I think this team is a good team. They're heading in the right direction. And look, you lost one. It is what it is. And think about it. Before last week, a lot of people were calling up saying, man, I hope they just get that one loss in before the playoffs. And then when they lose a game, it's like, man, I don't know. I don't know what to think about this team. So it's exactly what you wanted to happen. But look, I think this team is a good football team. And I think they have a decent bounce back today. I'm not going to guarantee a win, but I think they have a good showing this evening in Baltimore.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the one loss thing. I was kind of on that boat, but it's like, couldn't have been the Ravens game, couldn't have taken care of business against the division. Speaking of that game last week, Cerrone, we talked about this. I was on with Felger and Maz during the week. I think this was Friday. Which side needs a bigger turnaround? Which side has more to prove in your mind, the offense or the defense?
The defense. I believe it's the defense, and I put the offense third because the biggest... The thing, you've probably mentioned it all week. I didn't hear you. If you did, I apologize. The thing that lost them that game was special teams. I can't think of the kick returner for the Bills. He had 164 yards in return yards. Ray Davis. He averaged 42 yards of return in that game, 4 returns. Like putting Buffalo at the 50 over and over again was a key component to them losing that game. But other than that, and I would put that on the same side as the defense. I think going into that, if you'd have told me the Patriots would get 31 points, 400 yards of offense, and spot, a 21-point lead, I would clearly look at the defense like, well, how come they didn't hold? They couldn't get one stop. And when you allow, 5 straight touchdown possessions, that's on the defense. The offense had a chance in the end, had the chance to win it with the ball. But look at the time of possession in the second half of that game. The offense really didn't get a chance to get back on the field. And the one time they did, Henderson breaks one up the sidelines and puts the defense right back on the field again. But the defense, to me, was the key to that loss and should be the focus today. The key should be getting off the field against Baltimore, unlike what happened last week.
I'm with you on special teams. I think the offense has more to prove, has more of a bounce back here, just because, look, they can be better with what they have. This isn't to totally excuse everything. That was a rough game against the run, but the defense is banged up, and there's only so much you can do, right? They're down their top defensive tackle. They're down their best run defending linebacker. Really, they're one of 2 run defending linebackers. I guess you can put Tavai in that conversation. Carlton Davis missed most of that game. That's a lot of talent you're without. And
yeah, Jones was limping in the end, too.
Right. We've talked about this team's lack of depth. So That's not to say, oh, well, it is what it is. They got run all over. No, you need to be better than that. And I think this is a big game for the coaching staff, for Mike Vrabel, for Zach Core, because you're not going to have a lot of those guys again. Spillane's out. Milton Williams is still out. They have 4 players questionable. Again, if you missed it, in the headlines there, Christian Barmore, Harold Landry, Marcus Jones, Carlton Davis, all questionable, all made the trip, but all questionable. I find it hard to pile on the defense too much when you don't have, again, your top defensive tackle, your best linebacker, your second best corner, and then a handful of other guys playing through things.
Yeah,
that's just a tough spot. Whereas the offense, they're without their top left tackle. Vidarian Lowe was not the problem last week.
No,
Vidarian Lowe played fine. That was actually collectively probably one of the better games the offensive line's played this year. Drake May had time. He just didn't know what to do with it. So I think it's a big bounce back spot for Drake May and a big bounce back spot for the offense here coming up in this game tonight.
And one thing I would add to that, what you were saying about the defense and the injuries, and it was against probably the best offense in football. You got to that was one of the big things I was jumping on too. Is look, you know what? Sometimes you got to give the other team credit. And the Bills, that's what they've done all season, was get down big and then they just steamroll in the second half. For some reason, they make the right adjustments, the right calls. Josh Allen, once he sees something long enough, he figures it out. And they figured the Patriots out, and they were rolling. But they've done that multiple times this year. They've been lighting people up in the second half. And look, Josh Allen, it was weird. It seemed like the kid had 400 yards passing. It seemed like Cook had 200 on the ground, but they were just getting enough. They was 3rd and 5, they'd get 6. 3rd and 3, they'd get 4. And that's how they won that game. Allen, I think he didn't get 200 yards passing. Cook I think he had like 120 on the ground. It felt like so much more. But I think the Patriots had more offensive yards than they did, but it didn't matter. They just made the plays when it mattered most. And eventually, we just got to take your hat off and say, you know what, you guys got that. You got us on that one. But that's who the Bills are against a banged up defense. You were just trying to hold on, and the Patriots couldn't in the end.
Yeah, and it's really the run game. The Bills' run game is what got them, and then the play action off of that, the tight ends. And what's kind of nuts is
same offense.
Right. A lot of the things the Bills did to hurt the Patriots, like the Ravens are strong at the same things. This is a true redemption shot for the Patriots. You're not just getting a chance to bounce back off a loss. You're getting a chance to show that either the things that hurt you last week you've shown you can fix and you've shown you can improve against, or maybe you get exposed a little bit more. What are those things? We'll talk about them next here on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff. Plus your calls, 617-779-0985. It's Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
Stay tuned for more Sunday Kickoff on the Sports Hub.
Hey, it's
to the Patriots last week, like the Bills didn't come out, and Mike Vrabel sort of said this after the game. The Bills didn't come out with some unique game plan. And I don't mean that to dump on the Bills, but like it's just what they do well happened to line up with the Patriots' weaknesses at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
They're a good run team. Patriots run defense without Milton Williams, without Roberts playing, it's not good. The Bills' passing game funnels through their tight ends. The Patriots all year have struggled to cover tight ends. We've talked about this. Well, here we go again. Redemption shot. And it's a slightly different structured run game because Lamar is more of a factor in the, traditional run game than Josh Allen is. Josh Allen, a little more of a scrambler. But there's that element of it. And then when they throw off of it, so Zay Flowers is the Ravens' leading receiver. He's having a good year. He's 70-something catches. I should have pulled this up for the segment. After him, their next leading receivers are Mark Andrews, who I think a lot of people are familiar with, their longtime tight end. And then Isaiah Likely, a local guy, another tight end, has 22 catches. No wide receiver after Flowers has more than 18 catches. DeAndre Hopkins and Rashad Bateman each have 18. It's week 16. So this is going to run through the run game. It's going to run through the tight ends. So to me, this game's about the coaching staff because the personnel ain't changing. Not getting Robert Spillane back this week, not getting Milton Williams back this week. Carlton Davis banged up again. Now Christian Barmore's banged up. He was questionable. He didn't practice on Friday. So the coaching staff's going to have to come up with something, same personnel, different strategy to figure out what to do. How do you feel about the Patriots in that matchup, Cerrone?
I think the key differences here is the passing element, only because it's Lamar Jackson. I don't know what he's dealing with or what he's going through. He has not been the same for a long time, for a few weeks.
So let me ask you this. Sorry to cut you off, but
no, that's fine.
And you're right. Like, this is not MVP Lamar that we're seeing right now.
Not at all. And
do you see that if you're in the room, if you're coming up with the game plan, do you maybe respect his run game less in order to throw more resources at stopping Derrick Henry, knowing full well what he can do?
Yep. I'm selling out. I'm stopping Derrick Henry. Bringing that safety down into the box. I'm gonna force Lamar Jackson to be MVP Lamar Jackson. You're gonna have to beat me over the top. You're gonna have to throw the deep passes. Zay Flowers. You're gonna have to. I'm gonna make you use those receivers you haven't used all season. I'm gonna trust Gonzalez. Hey man, look, you got Flowers all night. I don't care where he goes. You follow him to the locker room, and I'm doing everything I can to stop the run and force this team, who I believe is at the bottom in most passing categories or near the bottom, and they don't throw it much. And when they do, they don't get much results. And I think Jackson, since the first week of November, he's around 55% passing, completing his passes. He's struggling, really struggling. He hasn't practiced a full week. I'm selling out, man. I'm putting everybody in the box. I'm making them beat me over the top. You're going to have to make the big plays in the cold tonight in order to beat us. And at least I'll do that for a little while to see if Lamar Jackson's capable of doing it. And I'm putting pressure on them. I'm not sitting back and let Derrick Henry get going. Now, I will say this.
Yeah,
I think Derrick Henry's a different back than what you dealt with Cook. He's a straight ahead juggernaut that once he gets out in the open, he's got the burst. But Cook was making people miss in the hole. Like, he would get the handoff. There'd be a guy there. He would skip, and he'd make two guys miss in the hole and get the yards needed. Derrick Henry at this point in his career is not going to do that. He's going to go through you. He's going to fall forward. But I think he's easier to deal with and contain than the scatty running back that Cook was last week. So it's kind of different there. You mentioned the Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, the health thing. And Josh Allen, God, I think he's got like 15 touchdowns on the ground or something like that already. He's been a threat all year. Whereas Lamar, his running numbers are really coming down from what we've seen in the past. And I think you just put everybody in the box and make them be a deep threat team. And it's something that they haven't been comfortable doing all season. I think you can get the best of them if you play that type of defense.
Where Cook really killed him last week, though, to me, and some of this was making guys miss in the hole, but also there were plays where, I'm watching and I see it and I'm like, all right, they hit him at the line of scrimmage a yard or two over. And then you look up and it's 2nd and 5 because he's winning the tackle, right? He's getting hit early. but he's able to fall forward and win the tackle and pick up that hidden yardage. I think he had 101 of 107 yards after contact.
Yeah.
Nobody, maybe in the history of the game, is better at that than Derrick Henry. Right? Earl Campbell, sure.
Yeah.
So, and that's where you miss Robert Spillane. And Robert Spillane isn't going to drive Derrick Henry back every time, but Robert Spillane doesn't lose tackles the way that, some of these smaller, more finesse linebackers do. The Patriots got smaller on defense this offseason in order to get quicker, and they needed to do that to an extent. But without Spillane, without Milton Williams, now very small on defense. And so you worry about, even when they win initially at the line of scrimmage, Derrick Henry's what, 6'4"? So that's
something like that,
2.5 yards if he's falling forwards when you tackle him. That adds up over the course of a drive and over the course of a game, and that can be a problem. So you're not going to drive back Derrick Henry every time. That's just an unrealistic expectation, but it is something you got to be aware of and something they have to be better about. Let's go to a couple calls here before we'll have Evan Lazar joining us at 8:35 to break down this matchup more. Evan Lazar from Patriots.com. But first, we go to Tom in the car on the defense. Tom.
What's up, boys? How's it going?
How you doing?
Hey, Merry Christmas, all. You guys are great. Cerrone,
thank you. You too.
Dude. Man, I just think, I was looking at the numbers with Baltimore. I just feel like every time the Pats go down there, they get up for it. They're playing in Baltimore. Cerrone, you talking about, I didn't even realize how terrible they were on special teams. I watched the whole game, and I was looking it up. Yeah, I mean, the field position on special teams with the Bills was terrible. And, when Allen's on, he's really hard to stop. But what you guys talking about, is it the offense or the defense? I mean, it's the defense, man. And you're up 21-0. I would rather have been a rock fight that whole game, and they still lose. But you're up 21-0. It's not good for morale. And on top of that, I can just see someone like Rashad Bateman going off against the Pats and leave it to the Patriots to make. And Lamar's not mediocre, but I can just see him going off in this game. I can see him losing this game, and we're going to the wire, going to the playoffs. So I'd like to hear what you guys think.
Thanks for the call, Tom. I do want to go back to something he said about the Patriots getting up when these games are in Baltimore. So, oddly enough, these teams have played 16 times. It's going to be the 17th time. Of the previous 16, only 5 have been in Baltimore. The Patriots are 3-2 in those games. They have not been to Baltimore since 2019. That was the game. Patriots going 8-0. Remember Tom Brady, the most miserable 8-0 quarterback, and they got kind of whooped. It was 37-20, but it felt like more than that. Yeah. And then they obviously were never the same again that season. They fell apart. But they do have some wins in Baltimore. I will add this, though. Talk about coaching being a factor in this game. Since 2008, that's John Harbaugh's first year with the Ravens. Since 2008, no team in the NFL has a better winning percentage in prime time than the Baltimore Ravens. They're 44-21, 67.7%. The Patriots, for the record, are third, 63%, 46-27. There's only 5 teams over 60%. The Ravens, the Seahawks, the Patriots, the Chiefs, and the Steelers. Since 2008, primetime winning percentage at home. The Ravens, 82%. They're 22-5. Patriots, for the record, are fourth in that category, but this is a hard team to beat in primetime, especially at home. Yeah, so this is a game you have to get up for, and they need this game. That place is going to be rocking.
Yeah, they're fighting for their lives. Again, you're dealing with a team, a hungry team, a desperate team. And I'm gonna say concern. The one thing I'm watching for, it's Lamar Jackson. I think in those previous primetime games, Lamar Jackson was MVP Lamar for the last few years. Excuse me, he's tough to beat, but he's just not right. And when he's not right, it's a different element. It's hard to stop the run in Buffalo because you're so still worried about Josh Allen putting up 400 yards on you in the air. Lamar Jackson, I think there's no fear of him putting 250, 300 yards on you. He's just not the same, and something's not right. And I think we're going to find out in January he's dealing with something that's going to get some kind of surgery. But he's not right, and I think it makes them really one-dimensional. And if you get up 21-0 on this team, they are not built to come back at all. They're built with the run play with a lead. They're not built to play from behind.
The tough thing is the Bills showed last week, when you get behind, you can still run the ball on the Patriots and come back.
Yeah.
If it's early enough. Let's grab one more call quick before the break. Tony in Canada. Tony, how you doing?
Hey, guys. Happy holidays.
You too.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I like what Cerrone said at the beginning of the show regarding how to try to stop Henry. But my question is, and I think I know what it will be too, but Baltimore, I think, is going to try to take the same approach as the Bills did in terms of stopping our offense, playing man-to-man coverage. And how do you think we're going to try to combat that? Can we do that? What's the plan? What do you guys see the offense doing to and hopefully if we win, it'll be through the offense, I think. I'll listen to the show, guys. Thanks.
Thanks for the call, Tony. We'll get more into this later in the show, and we're actually going to ask Evan this next. But big picture, one, you got to lean on the run game more. I thought the run game was a bright spot last week. I don't want to say they got away from it because they only ran 18 plays in the second half, but lean on the run game more. I'd like to see more Pop Douglas in this game. Remember at the beginning of the year when we were saying, you got to get Pop Douglas off the field. Teams are playing too much zone. He's not as good against zone. Mm-hmm. Well, we're now on the other side of that. Pop Douglas, a great man-beating wide receiver. I think that's a guy you got to get out there on the field and get more involved.
Yeah, you got to get these receivers going. I completely agree. I think the aggression kind of went away early in that game Sunday, but I think you got to get these receivers going and get them out in space and let them be the playmakers that they've shown at times where Drake May was the deep ball threat that he was. It was because his receivers were aggressive and getting open downfield. You got to look for these guys, especially against what I think they're the 27th ranked pass defense. So we'll see how that works out.
Evan Lazar covers the Patriots for Patriots.com. We'll ask him more about this coming up next here on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
More Sunday Kickoff is on the way on the Sports Hub.
Com for more on tonight's Patriots-Ravens matchup. Evan, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How we doing?
Doing good. When you look at this matchup, X's and O's, just how similar is this schematically, the challenge for the Patriots, to what they faced against the Bills last week?
I would say it's pretty different from the Bills' offense and the Ravens' offense, just because, I think the Bills run the ball a little bit more conventionally these days. They run a little bit more of a zone scheme as well from under center. This Ravens offense wants to come right at you guys, right? They're gonna put a fullback in the backfield. They're gonna run multiple tight ends out there. They are going to run the football with power. They're going to run it, much more downhill between the tackles, whereas the Bills, they want to kind of set up those cutback lanes with a stretch play and then cut it back up through the middle and try to get you washed down like they did a few times last week to the Patriots. Now, the Ravens defense been much better as of late. If you can keep them out of those third and long situations, like they seem to live in last week against the Bengals, then you can stay out of sort of their exotic scheming and pressure disguise and all that good stuff that get quarterbacks tripped up. So I do think early down success is there for the Patriots offense against the Ravens defense, but this Ravens rushing attack is as multiple and sort of as complex, because then you also add in the shotgun element with Lamar Jackson and his legs and, what he can do by design as well. So this is a pretty, take your pick. It's like a Cheesecake Factory menu for Todd Monken in terms of the run plays there with Baltimore.
So just to go back to what you said about the run game and how the Ravens approach it differently. As for what weaknesses the Patriots had against the run last week, are the Ravens in better or worse position to expose what the Bills exposed last week?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say maybe a little bit worse, just because their whole run game to me is pretty. I wouldn't call it predictable because of how diverse it is, but it's you kind of understand what they're trying to do.
They do what they do.
Yeah, whereas with Buffalo, I think, James Cook is so good at finding the creases wherever those creases may be. And he really goes you talk about 6 gaps on the line of scrimmage. He can hit all 6 gaps. Whereas I think with Baltimore, with Patrick Ricard and Derrick Henry, they're kind of coming right at a certain point of attack. And if you can sort of load up in that point of attack, you might be able to find some success. Now, they have some staple complementary plays where they'll toss it out to Henry, off of some other actions and things like that. But for the most part, they put that fullback under center, this is coming, in the A or the B gap, and you can kind of load up there. So the issues the Patriots had with those runs right up the middle last week, which was a huge issue. James Cook went for 85 yards on 12 carries on just inside runs right up the middle of the Patriots defense. You would like to think that maybe they'd have a little bit more reinforcements and be able to align a little bit better there, knowing that you're not necessarily facing a guy that's going to get the edge all the time.
On the other side, I know the Ravens pass defense is near the bottom of the league, and they've had their good moments against lower opponents, lesser quarterbacks, excuse me. But the Ravens run defense, they're middle of the pack, they're 17th in yards allowed or something like that. Do you think this Patriots team can really move the ball on this Ravens offense on the ground? Ravens defense, you think the Patriots can run on this Ravens defense to kind of play their game against them?
I would say the season-long trends tell you that it's going to be tough to run on Baltimore. Since about week 6, they had an absolutely awful start to the season on defense. They're giving up 35 points a game through the first 5 games of the season. But since week 6, they're only giving up 16 points a game. That's second in the league. So they've really had a pretty big split, and they sort of figured things out. So some of those season-long trends, I should say, Cerrone, are putting in that first 5 weeks. And so now you're looking at it and you're oh, this defense is kind of middling. But since that point, they're number 1 in the league in rush EPA allowed, expected points added. They're one of the best run defenses in football. Travis Jones in there, they just gave him an extension. He's a monster. They have big, strong defensive tackles inside. So this is another one of those games where I feel like Travion Henderson on the edge is probably your best bet. You don't want to try to run right at Baltimore. You don't want to play that game on either side of the ball with the Ravens. They are a physical team. We know that. That's their identity for how long, guys? I mean, I feel like every time we talk about Baltimore, we say it's going to be a physical game and that's going to be their identity. So if you're the Patriots, I think you want to try to get Travion Henderson out in some space, out on the edge, get him away from those big defensive tackles, and maybe he can house one, and we see those yards per carry numbers go up because he has one or two big runs like he had last week.
Again, we're talking to Evan Lazar, Patriots.com. How about when they throw the ball? Obviously, the pass game, not a lot of success last week. Some of it, simply Drake May needs to be better, but are there any other changes now as teams maybe start to defend the Patriots pass a little differently that you'd like to see from the pass game, specifically against this Ravens defense?
Yeah, so the Ravens run a lot of man. Top 10 in the league in man coverage rate, and I think they're going to continue to run a lot of man tonight against the Patriots because that's sort of been the book on the Pats for going on about 5 or 6 weeks now, that they've had a little bit of struggles against man-to-man coverage, and certainly did in the second half against Buffalo last week with all that two-man coverage with the two safeties up top and the 5 guys underneath playing man-to-man. So a couple of things that I would look at. Number one, just personnel-wise, if they're going to play all this man-to-man, then I think Pop Douglas needs to be on the field more. He only ran 5 routes last week, and I understand that they only had 18 snaps in the second half, so some of those snap counts are skewed by that. He is definitely their best separator in terms of the underneath and even the downfield passing game, I would say, in man-to-man coverage. So if you're going to play that, then maybe getting the jitterbug, 5'8" slot receiver on the field and make them cover him in man coverage might be a little bit more, separation or uncover a little bit quicker for Drake May than some of their other options. The other thing is Drake May. Like, if they're going to play all this man, you got to run. You got to find ways to either scramble and make them pay for playing man-to-man coverage that way, extend plays, which is something that Mike Vrabel said earlier today. Well, if it's covered initially, like we have a mobile quarterback, he can move around back there and try to move around. So if they're going to rush 4, they're going to play man-to-man in the back end with the 2 high safeties. You'll have 2 open gaps on the line of scrimmage with only 4-man rush. So there's got to be an opening somewhere that he could try to escape the pocket. And I think a lot of teams that see a lot of 2-man coverage, whether it's, Kansas City in their prime or whatever the case may be, you run teams out of that coverage, whether it's checking into run plays, conventionally run plays, or scrambling with the quarterback. That's the killer. That's the kryptonite to playing that kind of style of defense. So I would expect that if the Baltimore Ravens come out tonight and they start playing man-to-man on third down and all that stuff, you're going to see Drake May running all over the place.
And last for me, on the other side of the ball, Lamar Jackson. What's going on with Lamar Jackson? And I know he's having a really down year, a lot of injuries. He hasn't had full week of practice, and I don't know how long. He's always got an illness. With their passing attack, do you think you will just load up to slow down Henry and dare the Ravens to throw the ball deep and force Lamar Jackson to be a passer, where it's something he hasn't really been comfortable doing this year? Do you think that's something where the Patriots defense can attack, is to take away the passing game of Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Lamar, because of the injuries, is like almost how you would have defended Lamar like early on in his career. He's evolved so much that he's now a great thrower from the pocket. And I think a lot of that stuff is, frankly, kind of lazy when people say that he can't pass or he can't read defenses or something like that. But now, because he can't run like he was in his MVP seasons or last year or whatever, there's really a more limited scope of what he's able to do. So I look at really his numbers across the board. His efficiency is way down. That's first of all, but even like his sack rate, he's got a career high right now in sack rate. And I think the biggest thing is because he can't run away from the rush like he's used to. And so he's still trying to make those Lamar Jackson plays when he's under pressure, and he just doesn't have that giddy up. He doesn't have that acceleration to pull away from the oncoming pass rushers like we've seen in the past. And there's a lot of examples on film of that, of like, he didn't get the edge there. Like, that's crazy. That's Lamar Jackson. Like, you're so used to just seeing him just run out the pocket and picking up the first down with his legs. It's not saying you can't completely forget about his mobility, because he's still fast enough that he can do that. He just doesn't have that special speed in the open field or that acceleration that we're so used to seeing from Lamar Jackson. So now teams that can get it into a drop back passing game, get him out of that play action run game sequence on early downs. His third down efficiency is as low as it's been since he's become Lamar Jackson, maybe back to his rookie season. So that's really the key for this. I think also, I was saying this earlier on our show, Alex, on Catch 22, like if you can funnel the ball outside the numbers with Lamar, he's always been a much better middle of the field thrower, seams, crossing routes, things layered over the middle of the field. He's always been money, even going back to Louisville, on those types of passes. But outside the numbers, they're not having a ton of success. That's probably also because they don't have a ton of talent at outside receiver. So I look at this game as a totally different type of game than what the Patriots have been playing. They've been playing so much nickel defense and three corner and all that kind of stuff. This might be a different kind of game. They might be in base a lot. They might only have two corners out there for a bulk of this game. And it's going to be interesting to see, if they have the personnel without Spillane and Williams and those guys to be able to play that brand of defense.
Real quick, before we wrap it up, Evan Lazar, Patriots.com with us. Mathematically, not a huge game for the Patriots. The 1 seed, still technically possible, but feels highly unlikely. Clinching the division will come down to the next 2 weeks, no matter what happens today. How important is this game, just the momentum of it? And what would this win mean for this team going into the playoffs?
Well, I think it's two things. One, I think from a seeding or a playoff perspective, it's not totally irrelevant because Buffalo has Philadelphia next week. And if you somehow get lucky and you beat the Ravens and the Jets, and then you get some help from Philadelphia in week 17 and they upset the Bills, then you won the division. That's the division right there. And so then week 18 all of a sudden doesn't matter as much, I would say really at all. And now if you're going to be playing on wild card weekend, maybe week 18 becomes like a pseudo bye week for you, and you can rest some of the guys that have had all these injuries over the last couple of weeks. So I still look at this game and say, if you take care of business the next 2 weeks, maybe Buffalo gets tripped up by somebody in the meantime and you get lucky and you win the division that way, and you don't have to beat the Dolphins, to secure the AFC East. Now, in terms of the morale and all that, I do think there's something to be said that they haven't lost 2 games in a row all year. I do think there's something to be said for the fact that they're playing in prime time, and a lot of people do think they're kind of Cam Newton, fool's gold, and maybe if they have a game where they show out again, kind of like they did in week 5 against Buffalo, that definitely can help. We covered that team, Alex, in 2018 that won their last 2 games of the season, and that kind of righted the ship after the Miami Miracle and the Pittsburgh loss. And this isn't quite as drastic as the Miami Miracle. Maybe it is. And those games really were the reason why they went on to go ahead and get on a roll and win the Super Bowl. So I think that there's a really good argument in both directions of, let's take care of our business. Maybe Buffalo does get tripped up, and that week 18 game against Miami becomes a Joshua Dobbs start or something like that.
He's Evan Lazar. He covers the Patriots for Patriots.com. You can find him on social media at EasyLazar. Evan, thanks for joining us this morning.
Anytime, guys.
We'll be back with your calls next. It's Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
More Sunday Kickoff coming up on the Sports Hub. Hey, if you
brought a guy in at $60 million, and we only used him for half the plays last game. And I think that a guy like Diggs is not commonly your first choice and number one wide receiver, but that's what he is here. He's the most experienced. He's shown that he's come off of rehab very well. So let's use the guy. I mean, he wants it. He's got to earn his money. Why not give him the opportunity, put him out there, get him out there 80% of the plays and use him what we need to use him for? I think that would have factored in last game, and I think that would be a lot of factor in this game if we use the guy we brought big money on him and not waste the money.
Thanks for the call, Brian. 80%'s a little much for the way they're running their offense right now. They are, rotating their receivers quite a bit. He did play, his snap counts have been low the last 3 games. He was at about 60% for the first few weeks of the season. It's been closer to 50 the last couple weeks. By the way, no Patriots receiver right now has played more than 67% of the snaps. That's Matt Collins. Kayshon Boutte's number would probably be a little higher if he didn't miss time. The games he's played, he's been on the field 69% of the time. So 80 would be high. The other thing is, and Mike Reese wrote about it this morning, teams know Diggs is the Patriots' best receiver. They're treating him like it.
taking him away.
So, there is something to be said for you want him to beat some double teams and get open in that regard. Maybe they designed some stuff for him, but teams have kind of caught. I think early in the year, teams said, he's 31, he's coming off the knee. Let's leave him alone and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
He can't do that. He's getting a lot more attention right now. So I'd love for them to get more out of him. I think it really would help the offense. But to me, the bigger issue is, can you find ways to continue to create big plays throwing the ball when he's not available? Because teams are taking him away.
And especially the Bills, the team who he absolutely ate up the last time. They were not going to let that happen again this go around in Foxborough.
Let's go to DP in Virginia. DP.
Hello, guys. How you guys doing?
Hey.
The biggest thing I want to touch on that flies underneath the radar that a lot of people don't seem to talk about is that when I use the word conservative, it might have been the wrong word, but if you notice in the second half, they always seem to run out of gas and run out of steam. I'm not sure what the case may be, but to me, I feel like they should operate the old Patriots. I don't care how much we are up. I feel much better with them throwing the football instead of running the football and choking out possessions. Because sometimes it comes to a point where it doesn't work, then you give the ball right back. And that's what I was worried about when we played Buffalo last week. I was not all that confident because I knew that if we kept giving the ball back to Josh Allen, we weren't going to stop him because he's already tougher as it is to stop. 6'6", 250 pounds with a rocket arm like he has. So I worry about the defense getting off the field on third down and being able to stop him. But the offense has to continue to keep drives alive. That's basically what I want to touch on.
Thanks for the call, DP. Conservative's a weird word. Look, they've been up in these games, and I think they're very cognizant of closing games out and keeping the clock moving and shortening the game once they get a lead and things like that. What was weird was they weren't running the ball well, and you kind of need to run the ball to do that. Mm-hmm. So now that they're running the ball, they should be better at that. But I'm with them. I'd like to see a little more pop down the stretch, especially in some of these close games. Instead of trying to run out these one-score games, get that lead up to 2 scores. But what's great, they were the best third-quarter team in football for 2.5 months. It's really the fourth quarter that they've struggled because I think they try to end the games rather than put them away. And there's a lot of, which I'm not necessarily against. Look what happened with the Packers last night. You got to be able to end these games, but you're going to find yourself some close games too, and it's going to help to be able to pull away a little bit.
Two things real quick.
Yeah,
I think what you guys are talking about is I think part of the reason Drake May hasn't had that 300-yard game. He's more than been on the pace for it, but I think late in games they're just running the ball and trying to get out of there, and he's not being aggressive. Do you think they should have been aggressive at the end of that second quarter Sunday? Well, it looked like they were playing like a clock game, playing mind games with the Bills. They would use a timeout, not use a timeout, and they ended up settling for a field goal. But they had time on that drive where they could have been aggressive and went for 7 there instead of the 3. Do you think that was a momentum swing in that game Sunday?
That one I was okay with.
Okay.
Because the defense had been on the field to just allow to score. You want to end the half with the ball in your hands. I have a big problem with that one. It was some of the plays they called coming out of the half, I would say, were more conservative to me than how they handled the end of the first half. Let's grab one more call quick before the headlines. Patty and Agawam. Patty.
Hey, happy holidays, guys.
You too.
Alex, I'm in my Patriots footy pajamas today.
Love it.
So I just wanted to throw a couple things at you. First thing, I think a win today would be a huge boost of confidence for the quarterback, especially how he played down the stretch and then in the second half of last week. And I do think Baltimore is going to show a lot of the same looks that the Bills showed them in the second half. And I think they need to remain balanced, but to me, in this game, it's going to come down to how well Drake May plays, especially down the stretch in this game. I think they can get it done. And I just wanted to ask both of you guys, do you think Chad Muma actually plays a little bit of middle linebacker? Because if you remember, I think you guys, Alex, I know you liked him. I think Evan liked him. I liked him coming out. He's an excellent athlete, and he's a little bit bigger than the kind of linebackers that Vrabel generally has. And I'll take it off there, guys. Happy holidays. Let's go, Pats.
Thanks for the call on Chad Muma. If you missed it, they signed him this week off the Colts practice squad. This week, I don't know, where is he at with the defense? He just got here. He's a player I'd kind of like to see them keep and build into the defense next year. I think he's a talented player. It might be a little early for him to have a big role, but if they start getting killed by the tight ends, throw him out there and say, hey, just cover this guy.
Just cover the tight end,
I like him in that role as much as I like anybody else they have if he's, caught up with the defense. So
yeah. You just don't. Only question is you just don't want him in situations where he gets confused, blown coverage scheme like that. But like you said, in man situations, hey, look, man, I need you to get on him and stick to Andrews until you hear the whistle. I think he'd be decent for that. But you don't want to put him in bad situations where he gets caught up or in the wrong position. So
to answer the question, long term, yes, I think he can have a role in this defense. I like his fit. It's just how much did he get done in 1 week? That's always going to be the question when you just bring a guy in. Let's hit the headlines when we come back around the NFL Week 16. A ton to talk about with the games that already happened. And then we have a whole Sunday slate to get to. 90 seconds, no commercials on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
From the Telfair Times Studios, WBZ FM and HD1. It's not just the games. It's Toucher and Hardy, Zolak and Bertrand, Felger and Maz, Joe Murray. For Boston sports fans, it's 98.5, the Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines. Presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Patriots back in prime time tonight. They can clinch a playoff spot with a win over the Baltimore Ravens. Coverage starts at 5:30 right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Christian Barmore, Harold Landry, Marcus Jones, and Carlton Davis all listed as questionable, but all reportedly made the trip to Baltimore. Robert Spillane, meanwhile, has been ruled out. As for the Ravens, safety Kyle Hamilton is, quote, more likely to play than not, according to Ian Rappaport. Hamilton was a late addition to the Ravens injury report this week. Elsewhere in the NFL, couple games last night, the Eagles beat the Commanders 29-18 to officially clinch the NFC East. And in a thriller in the NFC North, Bears come from behind to beat the Packers 22-16 in overtime. Looking at the rest of today's slate, Chargers, Cowboys at 1 o'clock. You can hear that game right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Also at 1 o'clock, a battle in the NFC South at the top of that division between the Bucs and Panthers. And then at 4 o'clock, huge AFC game between the Denver Broncos and Jacksonville Jaguars. First round of the college football playoff took place over the weekend. Oregon, Ole Miss, Alabama, and Miami were your first round winners. Peyton Pritchard scored 33 points and added 10 assists last night as the Celtics beat the Raptors 112-96. And the Bruins fell 5-4 in a shootout to the Canucks last night. They're back at it today. Second half of a doubleheader against the Ottawa Senators. Coverage of that game begins at 6:30 on our sister station, Country 102.5. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by the Shaws and Star Market Foundation. They've teamed with Andrew Peak for Feeding the Puck for families and will donate $100 for each assist this season to the Greater Boston Food Bank to help fight food insecurity. Learn more at 985thesportshub.com/feedthepuck. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 10 o'clock.
Boston Talk Sports.
Trade Drake May. We all know what, but we won't say what. Yeah, worst take on these airwaves in the last 24 hours.
We may not take a call today.
The Sports Hub.
Pick a target.
You pick it.
Take your pick.
Pick me. I did not pick. There was no pick.
Pick him up.
You pick him up.
Pick.
I pick.
Pick me.
Take the teams.
Pick one, jerk.
All right, Week 16 in the National Football League. Alex Barth, Cerrone Battle, Ryan Garvin behind the glass. We've got a ton to get to in terms of games that already happened. Let's start on Thursday night with the Seahawks and the Rams.
You feel me? Start taking care of y'all mentals, y'all bodies, and y'all chicken.
Seahawks erase a 30-14 late deficit, win 38-37 in overtime, hit 3 2-point plays in a row. Absolute chaos in this one. People are going to try to litigate that backwards pass rule out of the game. I just think we're never going to see that play again. That was such an odd, specific set of circumstances. But I'll ask you this, Cerrone. Even in the loss, did Matthew Stafford lock up the MVP on Thursday night? He was excellent in this game.
He was, except for when he had to be. I think he had with 2 or 3 straight drives where they just went right off the field. And I'm sitting there like, man, how are the Seahawks still in this game? And it was just, he just missing some plays, just a couple passes when he didn't have to. But I think Puka Nacua should get more MVP votes than Stafford. He might be the best offensive player in football.
He was excellent in that game as well. Stafford, 29 of 49, 457, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Nacua, 12 catches, 225 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I think it's Stafford. Drake May's had a great year. Maybe he has a big game tonight. I just think Stafford's been outstanding. Drake May will get his, but Stafford's been outstanding. Let's go to last night. We'll start with the Eagles and the Commanders.
What's good? I'm Josh Johnson, and I play for 14 different teams.
It's somehow not a revenge game for him last night, but I love looking at his resume.
That was the most shocking thing I think I have seen in football this year, where they're like, Josh Johnson's warming up on the sideline. I said, I can't believe he's still playing football.
See, I would argue it's the least shocking thing, because at no point, when you're watching a football game, you should always be prepared for the possibility that Josh Johnson shows up, because he's always just kind of there. But he couldn't get it done through a bad pick. That wasn't the only reason the Commanders lost. But they do 29-18. The Eagles are back in the playoffs. First time the NFC East has had repeat division winners since the early 2000s. Every year since 2005, they've had a different winner on and off. The Eagles looked better. Are they right, Cerrone? How do you feel about the Eagles going into the playoffs?
They're right where we thought they would be. We figured they'd win that game, and they did. But I don't know with that team. They have all the talent in the world, but something still is not right with this team.
Let's go to the game last night. This is 2 candidates for game of the year, frankly, this weekend. You're the Rams, Seahawks, and then the Packers and the Bears.
Is that the Packers always? They're right here! They're right here! Well done, DJ. Well done. Go and enjoy it. Appreciate it.
I mean, that was I don't know what's the game of the year, Cerrone? Is it Rams Seahawks or is it Packers Bears?
Rams Seahawks, man, that game was fun.
I'm
that
with
game
you,
was fun.
But that I mean the Bears win 22-16 in overtime. They should have lost when they couldn't get that field goal off before the 2-minute warning. But the Packers can't recover an onside kick, and then in overtime, Bears go down the field, get the score. Credit to Malik Willis. I thought he played well coming in for Jordan Love there, but. Are the Bears for real?
They might be, man. I mean, this late in the season, when your record's that good and you're leading divisions, just if you're good this long, you're a good football team. That's a tough football team. And everyone always say, no one wants to play this team, wants to play that team. Nobody wants to go to Chicago in January. We haven't seen it in so long, and we forgot how tough a place that is to play football in January.
I will say this, too, just to localize it a little bit. Isn't that kind of what you wanted Patriots Bills to be?
Yeah.
Because it was the same thing. The Bears had a chance to knock off the teams, giving them trouble a lot longer than the Bills are giving the Patriots trouble. You know, it didn't clinch the division, but I couldn't help but watch and be like, you know, looking at the party that was in Chicago and thinking about what the first half was and like, should have been us. Maybe they'll get another chance in the playoffs. All right, let's get to today. We'll start with one of the bigger games on the slate. It is the 7-7 Bucks at the 7-7 Panthers.
What's that bear doing?
Like a bear.
Panther.
That's Sir Purr, bro.
Who?
Sir Purr.
How you say that?
Sir Purr.
Sir Purr. Oh, Sir Purr.
As we sit here today, it is the Bucks technically in the lead in the division. Now, these teams haven't played each other yet, so this is 2 in 3 weeks. But a chance to grab the early tiebreaker. Bucks 3.5-point underdogs on the road, Cerrone.
I think the Panthers win this one at home. I give them the edge being at home. I think they're, let's say, the better team. I think they just have more consistent pieces, if it makes sense. Tampa, I don't know what's going on with them. They're just so up and down right now. Carolina, this is the type of game they win, just like I thought last week was the type of game they'd lose, which they did, but I think they win this one and win it at home.
Give me the Bucs. Baker Mayfield revenge game. Panthers cut him a couple years ago. I'm taking Tampa, and then we'll see. That could be, the Sunday night game, Week 18 for the division. The 10-4 Bills at the 3-11 Browns.
And they won 2 world wars. 2 world wars by doing jumping jacks, push-ups, and sit-ups. 2 world wars.
The largest spread of the week, the Browns at home, 10.5-point underdogs to the Bills. Do the Patriots get some unexpected help today, Sarah?
Man, I think the Bills win this game. But this is the one to watch. These are the games, like I mentioned with Carolina. Buffalo is in the position they're in now for a reason. It's because for some reason, they played down to the competition, losing to Miami, losing to Davis Mills. They just find a way to let these type of games hang around. They get up for the big games. I think Buffalo wins this one, but I think this one's, I think they have to fight for it in the end to get the W.
Browns cover 10.5?
Yeah.
Nah, I think Bills are going to go up and down the field on them. I think they're feeling themselves. This game,
that's why they lose.
That's true. This game you can hear later on 98.5 The Sports Hub. The 10-4 Chargers at the 6-7-1 Cowboys.
And maybe somebody would run with what y'all say because it's the Dallas Cowboys. But the reality is, it ain't the gospel.
We didn't get to. I wanted to take calls. We didn't get to the college football playoff segment. I wanted to earlier, but you see Michael Irvin on the sideline yesterday
with the belt.
That guy was feeling himself. The Cowboys 2.5-point favorites, despite the fact they were eliminated from the playoffs last night with the Eagles winning. So I love this stat. Every team in the NFL has made the conference championship since at least 2010. The Bears have the second longest drought. The Cowboys haven't made it since the Clinton administration. And that will continue at least another year. Do they start hurting their draft stock now and get a win today over the Chargers?
I think they start sitting guys and random phantom injuries that happen. But I think the Chargers going in and win. They make it look good, but I think the Chargers pull away late.
I think this is when the Cowboys start winning. This is always when the Cowboys start winning. I'm going to take the Cowboys today as the favorites at home. A lot of draft implications in this one. The 3-11 Jets at the 4-10 Saints.
We couldn't do diddly poo offensively.
The Saints 5.5-point favorites in the Dome.
Yeah, I'll take the Saints at home. The Jets are trying to work on some things right now. The Saints, they're trying to see if their quarterback is the guy, so I think they're going to let him do his thing. And because of that, I think the Saints win that game.
I'm with you. I think they're starting to find a little bit of something, Tyler Shuck.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's anything that even carries you into next year or like changes the way you approach your offseason, but it should be enough to beat this Jets team. Let's go to the 6-8 Vikings at the 2-12 Giants.
Get your fat ass off.
Shut up, Sims. Now don't be a damn no-class player.
I just want to correct something I said earlier. It was every team has made the NFC Championship. The Dolphins and Browns have longer AFC Championship droughts. The Vikings 3.5-point favorites going into MetLife.
Vikings will probably win this game again. Trying to see what they've got and what they're going to hold on to going to next year. They have some decisions to make. The Giants, I don't think they're trying to do anything to win football games at this point.
Yeah, I'll take the Vikings in this one. J.J. McCarthy's going to have another good game. That's going to be annoying. The lowest total of the week between the 6-8 Chiefs and the 2-12 Titans.
Tennessee Titans. Wait, good job. Yeah.
Awesome. Who would have thought this? The mighty Chiefs, first of all, the total's 37.5. Only 3.5-point favorites against the Titans. Now, the Chiefs put a ton of guys on IR this week. They're clearly shutting it down.
Throwing in the towel, yeah.
But do we hit another level of humiliation for Andy Reid's squad this week, Cerrone?
Yeah, I think the Titans are going to go in and try and kick them while they're down. They're going to try and have fun with this one. I think they're going to be a little loose. And the Chiefs right now, I think they're just so demoralized. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think the Titans win this game.
I think the Chiefs win. I almost think as a Patriots fan now, or just anybody, you want the Chiefs to start winning. Because you don't want them to suddenly end up with like a top 10 draft pick and jumpstart, have the drafts that the Patriots didn't really get, like McCourty and Gronk and those guys. Yeah. And I think the Chiefs win just because the Titans have been, even with the Chiefs down, what a win that would be for Cam Ward, though, as he tries to take a step forward. Let's go to the 4-10 Bengals at the 6-8 Dolphins.
You should stand corrected. Good morning. False. Great morning. Let's go.
What makes this one great?
Because we're another day closer to death.
We've got, 2 more weeks of that guy? Almost there. Tua sat down the Dolphins 4.5-point underdogs against the Bengals.
Man, I don't know what to expect from this Dolphins team, but I think I give them the edge at home. I might give them that. I don't know what to expect with the quarterback change. Quentin Ewers, I wasn't really a fan of his. But the Bengals defense is just what the doctor ordered for a quarterback to get his first start. So give me the Dolphins at home.
I think the Bengals, I think Joe Burrow wants to prove a point. It's also been super weird the last 24 hours. So Schefter had that report that the Dolphins offered the Bengals 4 first-round picks for Joe Burrow. Not weird to report that in theory. Every time he's talked about this game, though, he's quoted that report. Somebody somewhere really wants that out there. And I don't know whether it's the old GM who got fired, whose name is escaping me, and maybe he wants it known that, I don't, this wasn't my mess. Maybe it's Burrow who, wants his value out there in case he wants to get traded. I don't know. I find it very funny. Schefter keeps resharing that report. Something's up there. We're in the 4 o'clock window now. 5-9 Falcons at the 3-11 Cardinals.
Every single week, I put my freaking heart and soul into this. I don't go out there and laugh. It's not funny.
The Cardinals 3.5-point underdogs at home against the Falcons.
Yeah, give me the Falcons in this one. For some reason, they're playing good football now. I don't know why, but give me the Falcons over the Cardinals. And I need Jacoby Brissett to have a terrible day because I'm in my Final Four in my fantasy league, and he has Jacoby Brissett as his quarterback. So I need the Falcons to really shut this thing down.
Yeah, I think it's the Falcons. Another coach we should be done with soon, Jonathan Gannon. Game of the day. The 10-4 Jaguars at the 12-2 Broncos.
Dragon Slayer 69 with his 7-Eleven Slurpee in his mom's basement. I don't give a shit what he has to say, right? And Bo doesn't either.
Jaguars have the lead in their division. Denver chasing the number 1 seed. Jacksonville can actually get the 1 seed. A number of different things would have to happen. Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of doubt about the Jaguars and how real are they, and is Trevor Lawrence kind of finally clicking and all that. Here we go. Chance to prove it. Going into Denver, 3.5-point underdogs. Kendra Middleton is here. She's up next with George Pilecki, so she is listening, Cerrone. Are you taking her Jaguars to cover 3.5 or even win it?
Yeah, I got the Jags winning this one, man.
Wow.
I got Jacksonville winning this. Man, look, since they've got Jacoby Myers come in, Trevor Lawrence has been Joe Montana. They've been lighting people up. Travis Etienne's getting big numbers on the ground. They're moving the ball in the air. They're playing good, confident football right now. And I think they put enough pressure on Denver's offense and kind of forced Bo Nixon into those mistakes. Jags are playing good football, man. I got to go with the hot. Well, I can't get any hotter than Denver, but I think Jacksonville goes in and wins this game.
And it is Ty Anderson, by the way, pinch hitting for George Pilecki today. Kendra's looking at me. I got to go with the Broncos. I actually think the Jaguars are making progress. I think they're a real team, but that home field advantage has been too much for Denver. So here's what I'll give you, Kendra. I think people come away from today saying, oh, the Jaguars are real. We shouldn't sleep on the Jaguars. I think the Broncos win, but I think this is going to be a really good close game. Give me a rematch in the playoffs, and we'll see. But I think the Broncos get this one. Let's go to the 8-6 Steelers at 8-6 Lions.
Here comes Jared Allen, and he's out of bounds. Poor guy. I don't even know if he realized it.
Highest total of the week, 52 points. Lions, 7.5-point favorites.
Give me the Lions. I think the Lions light them up bad. I think this is another week where we're questioning the Steelers and their coaching staff and Aaron Rodgers, all that stuff. I think the Lions put a bad one on the Steelers today.
Huge one for the Lions. Huge one for the Steelers. I'm with you. I'll take the Lions, though. The NFC North stays interesting if the Patriots take care of business tonight. Let's go to the 2-12 Raiders at 9-5 Texans.
JJ Wow. Little JJ Wow. That's what we used to call him.
Got to correct myself. I said 10.5-point spread earlier was the biggest. I missed this one. 14.5 for the Texans. They take care of that, Cerrone?
They better. They should. I think they will. I think it could get ugly. But if the Texans lose this game today or even play a close one, we're back to questioning everything about this team and seeing how for real they are. Similar situation to the Jags, but I think the Texans, they better, and they should win this game.
I think they blow doors today. That defense is just going to have the Raiders in hell. Patriots-Ravens tonight. Ravens 3.5-point favorites. Monday Night Football, the 10-7 Niners at the 8-6 Colts.
What are you waiting right now? Right this second? I'm not sure, Greg.
With Phillip Rivers, Colts 6.5-win underdogs at home against the Niners, who still, by the way, control their own destiny for the 1 seed.
Yeah, I think the Niners win this one. I think the Niners are the best team that nobody talks about at all. Like it's amazing how all some people have been talking about the Niners every week for the last 3 years to not mentioning them every week this year. I think the Niners are a good football team, and I think they quietly beat Indy in a unattractive way, but I think they I think they just get it done and find a way to get the W like they've been doing all season.
I'm going to take the Niners. Hopefully Phil Rivers keeps it interesting like last week, but I'm going to take the Niners. That is Week 16 in the National Football League. Back to your calls next on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
Stay tuned for more Sunday Kickoff on the Sports Hub.
Hey, it's Hardy. Do you need to get into the holiday spirit? Well, take your family to the Enchanted Village at Jordan's Furniture and
quick. With the defense, I've just been thinking about these injuries and stuff, and I think the schematics of the defense, with it being smaller linebackers, asking them to cover the tight ends and do more in coverage, you got to have optimal conditioning. And the minute those guys in the middle go down, or you get one linebacker down, it's just more pounding on smaller bodies. And then once the linebackers get hurt and you have no depth, their conditioning isn't to the level of the requirement to step in and play. I mean, those guys looked dogged last week. I don't know, what is the answer to that? Because I think a lot of this is really the defense and the scheme that Vrabel wants to run.
Thanks for the call, Didi. I don't know. Did you feel like conditioning was an issue last week? I mean, maybe to an extent, more with the line than the linebackers.
Yeah,
I don't know. It was condition because they were getting blown off the ball early in the game too. Like it looked like a conditioning thing, but it shouldn't have been an issue that early.
I think it was. I don't think it was. I think you said. I think the defensive line was getting moved. The reason I say I don't think it was conditioning, especially late in the game, the Bills didn't really have a ton of big plays, and I think conditioning, guys being tired, it opens things up for those 30, 40-yard runs or something like that. Even late in the game, it was still 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. They just get the yard needed. And it wasn't a lot of big explosive plays. It was little, chunk plays, whatever. Yeah. They just couldn't make the tackle. They were in position. They would slip out. They would just miss. Carlton Davis on the 3rd down, the one everybody's complaining about with the flag. That was a game of inches. They had the grip of the jersey. They get the ball back. And little things like that. I didn't see them getting gashed for 20, 30-yard plays where you're looking like, man, these guys are out of it. But it could show up this week if they, these guys probably slept well Monday and Tuesday. But it could show up again this week. That's why it's important to get off the field against this team.
Yeah, getting off the field is a great point. If we're going to talk about conditioning, I took that as like general season-long conditioning. The play disparity in the second half is 46-18 in favor of the Bills.
Yeah.
The defense was on the field too much. That's a complimentary football thing. So some of that's on the defense. You got to get off the field. You got to stop these drives. But the offense needs to sustain some too. And as this point about the depth, we knew they didn't have a lot of depth going at linebacker going into the season. We talked about that. They're going to need over the next year or two. They did a good job overhauling the starters on both sides of the ball. The depth is still a work in progress. We knew that. This is it's not a unique scheme that they're running. It's a scheme that works. It's not like Vrabel's, I'm going to try this that nobody else is doing. It's just you got to have the personnel to do it. And coming from the scheme they were running before, which is very different, it's going to take more than a year to get all, 20-something defenders in place when you talk about filling out the entire depth chart. Sorry, go ahead.
So what I will say, too, about the defense, a lot of people are looking at the defense in the ground game, whatever. I still think there's something schematic about it, like it's a plan, because they haven't allowed a 200-yard passer since the Tampa game. It's kind of like we're going to let you work your way downfield and try and get you off on 3rd down, but we're not letting you beat us over the top. We're not giving you the big passing game.
They've been bend, don't break.
Yeah, but I think it's like kind of by strategy, but I think this Bills team broke them. Which other guys weren't able to do it.
Risking that, if you're going to be a bend don't break team, you have to be good in the red zone, and they haven't been. And that's probably the biggest issue. They are the 32nd ranked red zone defense in football. Yeah. You have to be better there. Robert and Adams has another thought on the defense. Robert.
Hey, 5 drives in a row, they score touchdowns, and we critique Josh McDaniels for not getting the defense off the field. I've never heard in the past 2 months anyone critique the defensive coordinator who's calling the plays. I know Pharrell Williams is out, but why aren't they critiquing the way the defense is being run, whether it's Vrabel's fault or Ben McAdoo's fault? Why don't we break down who's calling the defense and their failures? Thank you, guys.
So it's Zach Core who's filled in the linebackers coach. I've talked about this. Like, I don't, not specifically with that game. I don't love how much off coverage they play. I don't think that change would have helped them last week, the way the Bills are running the ball. I think they play too much off coverage for the personnel they have. Now, when it comes to last week, I know this is such a lazy take. You're down your best defensive lineman, your best linebacker. It's just hard. They don't have the personnel to stop the run right now. We knew their depth was thin. Kyrus Tong was playing off an injury. There are some things they could adjust in terms of the way Kyrus Tong was playing that I hope to see this week. Less aggressive shooting gaps. But I thought when it comes to last week, it was more of a personnel issue than a schematic issue. I didn't go back and look at that and been like, well, if they called this here, or if they changed the way this guy handled this assignment here, like, they just didn't have the bodies last week, is what it felt like to me. I know people don't want to hear that. I know that sounds like a cop-out, but that's just the reality of it. If they'd allowed those kind of drives, that kind of running performance with Milton Williams, with Robert Spillane, then yeah, I think a lot more attention would be on Zach Core.
And one thing, if you want to go back and look at that game, and it's one thing I was staring at in the second half. Look at the guards of the Bills in their center. They were making plays in that game, and they were getting to the second level. And I think they were the MVPs of that game. Just those three interior linemen, offensive linemen, put on a masterclass in running the football. The way they were just getting downfield, they were making blocks. There was a couple plays where they would clean up whoever was in front of them, knock him down, and then get to the linebackers and throw him out. It was incredible to watch. It was kind of like watching Nebraska in the 90s. They were just getting upfield, just those three guys in the middle. And that's not scheme. That was a talent. There was a talent gap, if you want to call it that. Those three guys were better than anything the Patriots can run at them in the middle because they just had an advantage. I don't think there was much scheme you could have come up with that would have made anybody stronger than those guards and center for the Bills last week in the way they were playing football.
They were just getting blown off the ball. And again, maybe that goes back to conditioning, to the last caller's point. But when you're on the field as much as the defense was without a break, it's tough. Like it's not 46-18 is insane. That's an insane play disparity. This is every time I see one of these games, I go back to Super Bowl 51. And as much as the Patriots getting beat in that first half, the Falcons defense was on the field for a lot of plays. And that's a big reason that game flipped, because they got gassed. That is the most underrated stat in sports, or at least in football, is play disparity. How many plays is one team running versus the other? Because over the course of a game, that can have a massive impact. And I think you saw that last week. All right, we got to hit a break. Back to your phones next. You want to join us? Couple open lines here, 617-779-0985 on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
Sports Sunday Kickoff is on the way on the Sports Hub.
Stop the run, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. You're okay. A little less resources towards Lamar Jackson if it means shutting down Derrick Henry. You're believing that Lamar is not right now.
Yeah. I think something's. I don't know what's wrong. I mean, injuries, whatever. He's my quarterback in fantasy. He got to get right. Not today though, but I'm trying to decide, should I start him or Trevor Lawrence? I don't know what to do. But yeah, he just hasn't been the old Lamar Jackson. I'd be terrified today if he was 100% healthy. Yeah. I'd be terrified for the Patriots because of the kid. He'd run for 120 on you, 130. Or he can have those plays where he's got the double spin move. He's making people miss. He's moonwalking in the end zone. He's just not there, and I think it's costing the passing game of the Ravens to suffer. Like you said, no one has more than, only two guys have more than 22 catches or something like that.
Yeah,
and that's tough to overcome. And one thing I would add too, I meant to mention this earlier. I think the Ravens' only win against a team with a winning record was the Bears. I think they beat the Bears back in October, and I think that's the only team they've beaten this season with a winning record. People get on the Patriots for eating up on weak opponents. The Ravens got right by beating up on bad opponents, and I think that's one thing we got to look at. I mean, Cincinnati went in and destroyed them. They beat them last week, but they haven't beaten a good team, but one time, and that's when they beat the Bears way back in October.
The Ravens started, remember, 1-5.
Yeah,
and then they're 6-2 since the bye. Their wins are Cleveland, Chicago, Miami, Minnesota, Cleveland again, the Jets. They lost 2 in a row, and then the Bengals. It's a good point. There's a lot of teams the Bears are like that before last night. They only beat one or two teams with a winning record. All right, let's go back to the phones. Jake in the suburbs has been hanging on. Jake.
Hey, what's up? I just wanted to comment on the Patriots and their offensive predictability. I was at the game last weekend, and it just feels like, when they're going to run, they bring out their less than mediocre fullback. They bring out an extra offensive lineman. They bring out their blocking receivers. And then when they're going to pass, they bring out the catching receivers. And it's like, at a certain point, it feels like they're going to have to kind of mix it up. And I think it's kind of a challenge they're facing because they're kind of like their blocking for when they're trying to run is just so incredibly weak in terms of leverage. And so curious your thoughts how they can overcome that.
Thanks, Jake. I actually thought their run blocking last week was as good as it's been. It's been a problem all season, but I thought last week, Jared Wilson, I thought had a great game. The personnel, that's always kind of been a Josh McDaniels thing. Yeah. Do you remember the Sony, Michelle, James White splits in 2018? They were, I think it was like 70% of the time Sony Michelle was on the field. They were running the ball. That was just one player. It's an offense that's really predicated on execution and making the right decision and putting players in conflict. And it's, okay, what we're going to do, but at a certain point in this play, you're going to have to make a decision against our player making a decision. We count on our guy making the right decision more often than you do. He did say something there, though. I have not been impressed with Jack West over at fullback. And I do wonder, I think the plan was to have Brock Lampy. He gets hurt over the summer. I do kind of wish they'd gone out and gotten a replacement instead of moving West over even early in the season. But Kyrus Tonga back at fullback, hopefully we see some more of that now that he's a little bit healthier, because I actually think they've had more success with him at fullback than Jack West over.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I did take away from last week, you talking about the running the football. Yeah. You saw it early. They ran Drake May in the red zone.
That too.
I was like, thank God. And he had a couple rushing touchdowns, but I think that adds another wrinkle and would allow them to open up more in the ground game if you actually feared May getting out on the outside or some of these handoffs or these read option situations, similar to what you're seeing in Baltimore, similar to Buffalo, to get Drake May out there. That way it makes, like you said, it makes the defense have to make a decision. If you add in that running quarterback, the scrambling quarterback, which May is very fast, you saw him running with Anderson, if that linebacker has to freeze to make a decision or a defensive end, I think that would allow for Stevenson, for Henderson, and these other guys to be able to run the ball up the middle. If a couple of linebackers or safeties standing still, not sure if May's going to keep it or hold it or whatever. But I'm glad they did that. I don't think they did it enough late in that game. And I think they kind of went away from. I think Stevenson would have been on his way to a decent game, and I think Drake May in the running game would have been decent as it went on. But they kind of got one dimensional late. But I'm glad they did add Drake May early into the red zone offense with using his legs. I hope they continue that going forward.
And you know what? Even if they don't continue it a ton, it's there now, it's something the defense has to look at, and it's going to make it easier to run the ball traditionally. Let's go to Mike in Braintree. Mike.
Hey, how you doing? Real quick, so correct me if I'm wrong, and you guys might have already touched on this, but by the time the Patriots kick off tonight, the Jacksonville-Denver game will have about ended. So it's possible that if Jacksonville loses, the Patriots will know that not only will they win the division, but they'll be locked into a 2 seed if they just win 2 out of the last 3, which makes this game kind of really meaningless if that's the case, other than getting a rest and potentially in Week 18. But also, and I don't think it's too early to think about this, that's kind of a nightmare scenario because if they're locked into 2, that means they're most likely looking at Houston or Buffalo walking in here wildcard weekend. What do you guys think about that?
Maybe. If the Jaguars lose, maybe. I think if the Jaguars lose and Houston win, the division flips. Maybe Kendra knows if she's still around. I don't know what the tiebreaker is right now in the AFC South. Yeah, so if that plays out, well, now Houston's the 1 seed and you're getting Jacksonville. I guess the Bills still might be in there, but the Bills are probably going to win today. So now you're looking at Jacksonville or maybe the Chargers if they lose to the Cowboys. So
yeah,
it's there's Maz or Jim, I think they both said it when I was on with them on Friday. They're right. Get the highest seed you can and go from there. It's just
whatever happens.
You got to just do that, right? And
everybody's good at this point.
But Patriots fans should be rooting for. Again, sorry, Kendra, I don't want to see Houston first round. Patriots fans should be rooting for the Texans to win that division, and that can flip today. It won't be over. It'll be far from over. Do they play each other? Is that the Week 18 game? No, they're done. But we'll see how that division plays out. One more call here. Brian in the car. Brian.
Yeah, quick question. They got rid of White, they got rid of Bentley, they got rid of all these guys, both the safeties, Duggar and the other guy, all run-stuffing guys. I know they don't fit Vrabel's system, but they didn't add anyone at the trade deadline. I think that's really showing its, the lack of depth in not adding anyone. That's what's killing them. It's nothing else. I mean, you don't have the guys to run the system, but those guys would have been perfect for Buffalo and for the Baltimore game tonight.
Yeah, Bentley, definitely. I don't know how much Duggar and Peppers changed the Bills game. Like, they'd struggled in coverage in recent weeks. Or in recent years.
I think you lose it on the other end. I think they're good against the run, but in the passing game, they're good for these 2 games for Bills and Ravens, but how good would they have been against teams who throw the ball a lot? You know what I'm saying? Like that, the opposite kind of offense you'd face.
I still, outside of Peppers, I still don't mind them moving off of those guys, but he's right about the deadline. Like, this is where, and I saw people pointed out this week, well, you look at what Rashid Shaheed's doing, you look at what Jacoby Myers is doing. I mean, Jacoby Myers is the trade deadline success story. That's as good as you can ask.
Yeah.
At the NFL trade deadline, with the Jags have gotten out Jacoby Myers. But I don't think they needed a receiver. I still don't think, I think they're okay at receiver for now. Long term, they need one of those guys who aren't available at the deadline. But a Jacoby Myers equivalent, a Rashid Shaheed equivalent on the defensive line, especially on the edge, if you'd gotten like an Ardent Key or Draymond Jones or Azeez Ojulari, Arnold Ebiketie, Mafe, boy, would that guy be a huge help right now.
Yeah.
Boy, would that guy be a huge help. So it's fine bringing back up the deadline right now because it's hurting them. The interior, they had depth. The injuries really piled up there, but boy, a trade deadline acquisition on the edge would be a big help right now.
Yeah, I think edge that's my biggest concern going to the playoffs is edge, is getting after the quarterback. That's my biggest concern. If they had a guy that was just teeing off on quarterbacks right now, I think they'd be a Super Bowl favorite. But that's a weakness of theirs, and it keeps them from getting off the field. Big play, that Bills game, it was 3rd and 10 or whatever it was, and on the 10, it might have been 3rd and goal, but they got the penalty, pushed them back.
3rd and 15, I know what you're talking about.
3rd and 15. Josh Allen's scrambling, looking around, then he rolls to his right, and he makes a throw in the back of the end zone. For one, I think if Spillane is there, I don't think he even makes that throw. 2, if you had a decent edge rusher there, I think Josh Allen's throwing that ball away or it changes everything. That's a 4-point swing there with a good edge rusher and a healthy Robert Spillane out there. So I think if he had a decent edge, this team, man, they could be sitting. They probably already have home field locked up if they had a good edge rusher most of the season.
That's the second guess to me. And no, they didn't get rid of any edge defenders. So that's moving on from those guys is what it is. I think they missed out on a chance to add an edge rusher. That's the big second guess. All right, we'll come back, make our game picks, wrap it up here on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
More Sunday Kickoff coming up on the Sports Hub.
the game on Sunday.
This is Sunday Kickoff with Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
All right. Patriots, Ravens. Not immediately going to it. This was originally supposed to be a 1 o'clock game. Instead, we got some time. So after us, we'll have Ty Anderson and Kendra Middleton. They'll take you up to 1 o'clock. It will then be Chargers, Cowboys. And then I'll be back after that game. Do another one of these double shifts. And I'll take you up till the start of Patriots pregame at 5:30. Bob and Zoe have the call. It's 8:20 kickoff in Baltimore. And then Joe Murray and Mark Dendero will have your postgame. And then I'm back tomorrow morning, by the way, with Kendra and Matt McCarthy. I'll be on at 8. I'm not doing the 6 o'clock. Not with the night game. That, even for me, that would be a little much. But, so a lot to come, a lot to get to today. Still waiting on inactives and things like that. But, Cerrone, as we sit here this morning, who you got tonight?
I think the Patriots win. I don't think it's a beautiful game. I don't think they play a perfect game. I think we come out of it with just as many questions as we had going into it. Where this team stands. I think we're questioning if Baltimore was another quality opponent, if they beat a good team again. I think they win this game kind of in boring fashion, like 24-14 or something like that, because I think this Ravens team has just been holding on and the bad teams have kept them afloat. But I think they're just so banged up right now offensively, especially at quarterback Lamar Jackson. I just don't think they're good enough to beat the Patriots at this point right now. And I think the Patriots win this one 24-14. I think May has a decent game, and I think they get off the field. A lot of 3-and-outs today.
I think the Ravens win this one. I worry about the Patriots' ability to stop the run, say like 27-24. I just think if the Patriots were healthy, I like them in this matchup. I just think they're too banged up. Now, that being said, if Kyle Hamilton doesn't play, that could swing it. We didn't really get into this. Mm-hmm. If Kyle Hamilton doesn't play, the Patriots need to get the deep ball going. And maybe that swings it. I worry about their ability to stop the run with the players they have right now. If they had Milton Williams, if they had Robert Spillane, I'd feel different. Those are two major injuries. Plus, we'll see what happens with Marcus Jones and Carlton Davis. They could be down two of their top corners. Christian Barmore banged up as well. It's too much to overcome defensively, injury-wise for me. Ryan Garvin, who you got?
I am going with the Patriots. I think Todd Monken stinks. I don't think this team is built to come back from deficit, so I have the Patriots getting out to an early lead. It's not Derrick Henry that concerns me, though, and it's definitely not the wheels of Lamar Jackson. It's Mark Andrews. I think if you can stop Mark Andrews, this should be a very easy win for the Patriots.
So last week we said if you can stop Dalton Kincaid, and Dawson Knox went off. So I would say don't sleep on Isaiah Likely, either local guy.
Listen, I wasn't here last week, so
I'm
not
here last
responsible
week.
for any of that. Stop Mark Andrews, easy with
that
the
is
Patriots.
Right. I don't know. Maybe I'm too caught in the moment from last week. I think they take care of business the next 2 weeks and win the division, but I'm nervous about the run defense in this one.
I think we're nervous about the optics of the Ravens. I think we see the uniform, we see the names,
that might
and we're
be
like,
some of it.
I think that this team is just, they're tough, they're this, they're that, and they just haven't been none of those things.
In Baltimore, probably, but even like the last time they went there, 2019.
Yeah.
It was, I don't think Ed Reed didn't play in that game, but we'll see. Again, we'll have more coverage for you throughout the day. Maybe I'll change my mind by the time I'm back on at 4 o'clock. You'll have to tune in and find out, or 4 o'clock or the end of the Cowboys-Chargers game. We got Kendra Middleton, Ty Anderson coming up next. We will be back next week, same time, same place. In the meantime, Sports Hub YouTube channel. You can catch, if you missed any of the show, Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff, wherever you get your podcasts, of more episodes of the Patriots Hub podcast coming this week as well. Ryan Garvin, great job. Cerrone Battle, great job. I'm Alex Barth, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week. I'll talk to you later today. Bye.
From the Telfair Tire Studios, WDZ-FM HD1. It's not just the games. It's Toucher and Hardy, Zolak and Bertrand.